Iran's retaliation is underway, according to Israel's military, with the launch of some 100 drones towards Israeli territory. Now, Israel itself has been bracing for this retaliation. A state of emergency has been declared. Schools have been closed, workplaces have been closed, and citizens have been told to shelter as best they can. Now, we have also seen that in hospitals, some underground wards are being readied for use. The Israeli Health Ministry has declared that all non-urgent activities be cancelled, that personnel be moved and patients be moved to protected areas, and they have been put on the highest level of alert for hospitals across the country. Now, we also saw in the early hours of Friday that some residents of Tel Aviv were going to local supermarkets that were opened and trying to stock up on supplies.
Israel attacked Iran tonight. Not $1, not one soldier. We didn't ask for this war. They asked Trump about it. Trump said, do not attack. They attacked anyway. Well, then you're on your own, brother. Why are we funding a war that we told you not to start? In fact, we were in the middle of peace negotiations when you went in and bombed. So now I guarantee you that they're going to ask us to pay for it all. And the establishment will say, well, of course, our special allies, they need the money to start more wars. They have to have it. And it was a preemptive war, just like Iraq. And just like Iraq, the American people will have to pay for it. Okay, well, then we're going to have a populist uprising because the grassroots of both the right and the left don't want this. And we don't want to spend any money on Israel's wars. We don't want it. Not $1, not one soldier. So who's going to win, the establishment or the populace? I'm worried about it.
This is the big one. This is the moment that I think that people across the Middle East have been waiting for and expecting at some point for years, and something that the Israeli leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, has threatened and kind of made it a lifetime ambition to make happen for so long. And it does seem to be the real thing. You know, as you say, we've had Israeli attacks on Iran before. And of course, we had the first direct sort of hostilities between these two sworn enemies last year. But this is the moment, it seems, where Israel has decided that it is now time to try and take out the Iranian nuclear program. Netanyahu has kind of made it an ambition of his to destroy this, what he regards, or says he's regarded at least, as an existential threat against Israel for years. Now, he clearly believes that Iran has been seeking to develop the technology to fulfill its threat to erase Israel off the face of the earth. And he's always said that this is effectively his sacred duty as a leader of the Jewish state to stop that happening and to remove from or take away from the Iranians any ability to do so. Now, what he said in this statement overnight is that he believes the Iranians have gone a step farther than what they've ever done before. They've tried to enrich uranium. They agreed to not do so and to hand over their enriched uranium under the JCPOA, as it's called, the Iranian nuclear deal. But then Donald Trump ripped up America's signature on that deal, and Iran went back to enriching uranium and has most recently developed enough fissile material. You have to basically spin uranium in centrifuges to develop the fissile material, make it enriched enough to be able to turn that into a bomb. And it had produced enough of that, the Israelis and American and other Western intelligence agencies believe, to produce 9 nuclear bombs relatively recently. But to actually turn that into an effective nuclear bomb that you could then deploy would have taken between 18 months to 2 years longer. Now, what the Israeli Prime Minister is saying is that he believes, and his Israeli intelligence agencies believe, that the Iranians have gone to that next step of trying to weaponize its fissile material stockpile. And the reason it was doing so is certainly the implication of what the Israeli Prime Minister is saying, is that its other insurance policy, which was Hezbollah and Hamas, these proxy allies on the sort of doorstep of Israel, have been destroyed by Israel, and therefore the Iranians are looking for a plan B, and therefore we're going hell for leather to build the bomb. Now, it's the first time he said that, and no other Israeli official overnight has repeated that claim. So I think his allies will ask for evidence that that is the case. But if he believed that was the case, then he's now justifying these attacks in that light. I think the big question now, of course, is what does Iran do in response from Iran military, the Twitter accounts that the Iranian military has, saying simply this will not be, talking about its retaliation, a mere demonstration of will or technological capability. This time our response will be lethal. So basically saying that those attacks, those ballistic missiles we saw last October, were a demonstration of will. What the world's going to see now is going to be very different, and it may not be aimed just at Israel. The Iranians have always said that if their nuclear program is attacked, they won't just strike back at Israel. They'll assume that America was involved as well, although the Iranians have said the Americans have said it's a unilateral strike. But the Iranians, I think the assumption we can make is the Iranians will, if they have the ability still to do so, strike Israel, but also US bases, possibly in the Persian Gulf, US allies in the Gulf, and oil installations as well. And that will, I think, create a step change in this conflict, and it threatens, I think, to escalate things into a much more grave situation, not just for the region, but potentially for the world as well, of course, because the Persian Gulf is so crucial to the world's oil industry and to trading generally.
Israel is attacking Iran, and these are all the newest updates. Israel struck a number of civilian apartments in Tehran, but now we're finding out that a lot of the IRGC commanders and high-ranking people live there. Eliminated 2 nuclear scientists, and they also eliminated a number of high-ranking chiefs. First wave of strikes was specifically in Tehran, and then they branched out to most of Iran, and they started hitting the nuclear sites. They also eliminated the IRGC's chief of staff. They're attacking a number of nuclear sites across Iran within the second wave of attacks that are happening right now as I'm filming this video. We don't know exactly where or how many. Also attacked 6 military bases that are in and around Tehran. Israel has also said that they are going to continue to attack Iran until the threat is eliminated. I don't necessarily know what they mean by that, but that's what they said. But we know for a fact that we have a lot of women and children, civilian deaths, murderings from these bombings. We don't know the number yet or how many are injured. Rubio came out and said that America had nothing to do with it. Don't want any part in it. That's basically, they were like, my name Bennett, I ain't in it. Historically, anything that Israel has done has been with the backing of America, so I'm not really sure how that looked like when they made that decision to do that, but
در مقابل تهدید ما با تمام قوا پاسخ خواهیم داد.
Until the back door of my room in the university to see whether I have bodyguard or not.
That's why I'm once again asking you to strictly follow the guidelines of the Homefront Command. It's very possible that you will need to stay in protected spaces for an extended period of time, much longer than we've been used to until now. Please make sure to stock up, as I'm sure you're already doing, with supplies, food, clothing, and more. But above all, stock up on patience, on faith in the justice of our cause, and in confidence in our victory. There's a reason we named this operation Rising Lion, a people that rises up as a lioness, and as a lion lifts himself up. We are going to achieve many great accomplishments, thanks to you, and thanks to our heroic soldiers.
It's being reported that Iran has confirmed that these individuals have been killed. Hossein Salami, the IRGC's commander-in-chief, Gholam al-Rashid, the Armed Forces Strategic Commander, Dr. Tehranji, the project supervisor in the Ahmad plan to develop nuclear weapons. Also, the project supervisor for the sub-project 330, which is on nuclear explosive testing. He was one of Iran's top nuclear scientists. Faridun Abbasi, the former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization. So right now, these are the major figures that are being reported dead. Also, the Iranian deputy chief of staff has been eliminated as well. Ismail Khani, I guess that's how you pronounce it, forgive me, the head of the Quds Force was also targeted, or Quds Force, Quds. It's also being reported, but this is unconfirmed, that the uranium enrichment facility in Natanz no longer exist. Just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter where I go into more detail on many of these topics. It's a place where I can't be censored, and the link to that is in my bio. Go to my profile, click the link, drop your email in, and you'll be good to go. That's all I...
ساعت الان 3:37 ورودی
Israel strikes on targets inside Iran and also on Iranians' military leadership certainly mark an escalation between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Israelis. The Iranians acknowledging that some of their senior military leaders have been killed or wounded in these Israeli attacks, the most important of which is Hossein Salami, who is the head of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is, of course, the elite wing of Iran's military. However, one of the things that we've seen in the past when senior IRGC leaders were killed is that this organization certainly has the capacity to replenish their ranks and to keep going. One of the things that Iran's supreme leader has said is that the IRGC, as he put it, will not relent in combating the Israelis. So certainly the Iranians are set to get back on track. The Iranians believe that their military is still very powerful, and certainly they say there will be retaliation against the Israelis. We've been speaking to senior Iranian officials over the past couple of days, and they had said that in anticipation of possible Israeli strikes, that they've already put together a target list of what they say are key targets inside Israel, including what they call Israel's clandestine nuclear facilities as well. So the Iranians certainly vowing that there will be a very strong response by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The weapon of choice in the past by the Iranians have, of course, been their very powerful ballistic missiles, of which the country has a very large amount, and then, of course, also drones. The Iranians vastly expanding their drone program over the past couple of years, and their drones certainly have the reach to get deep into Israeli territory as well.
Right now, as we speak, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that these airstrikes on Iran will continue for several days until there is no nuclear threat from Iran. Keep in mind, Israel does not have the B-2 bunker buster bombs, which are necessary to penetrate Iran's nuclear sites deep in the mountains. Only the United States has that. Israel does not have the military equipment necessary to take out Iran's nuclear sites. But keep in mind, just because Iran does not have a nuclear bomb, it has many, many ballistic missiles. Israel's a one-bomb country. It doesn't take many bombs to destroy Israel's essential infrastructure. Now, this is what's important. Even though the United States says it will not get involved, the United States will get involved to make sure that Israel's airspace is defended if Iran strikes back. There are already reports coming out that Iran has launched missiles back at Israel. Israel does have the Iron Dome, however, hypersonic missiles can penetrate that, which we did see in the last airstrikes from Iran. Israel does have other defense systems like the David Sling, and of course the country of Jordan will use its airspace to protect Israel from incoming missiles from Iran. The United States is the only country that technically should have the power to reel Israel in. Keep that in mind as things develop.
از Azaka. Azaka, azaka, azaka.
This is breaking news. Israel has carried out airstrikes targeting positions in Iran. Explosions were heard in the capital of Tehran. And since then, a state of emergency has been declared across Israel as the country braces for a response from the Iranian regime.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
Okay, so we know Israel did just strike Iran, and the IDF on X just posted this. The IDF launched a preemptive, precise, combined offensive to strike Iran's nuclear program. Dozens of IAF jets completed the first stage that included strikes on dozens of military targets, including nuclear targets in different areas of Iran. Today, Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of the Iranian regime are an existential threat to the state of Israel and to the wider world. The state of Israel has no choice but to fulfill the obligation to act in defense of its citizens, and will continue to do so everywhere it is required to do so, as we have done in the past. Here's a statement from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interest or personnel.
Here's what we know so far about these Israeli strikes on Iran, what Israel is calling Operation Rising Lion. The strikes began overnight, and the attacks hit nuclear sites, bases, and residential areas. 3 of Iran's most senior military leaders were killed, including Mohammad Hossein Bagheri, one of Iran's top military officials, and Hossein Salami, the commander-in-chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. The strikes clearly did hit Iran's nuclear program. That is being confirmed by Iranian officials, and there are pictures today of black smoke rising above the Natanz nuclear facility. Iran responded by launching more than 100 drones at Israel. Israel now says they have been stopped, but its Middle Eastern neighbors have condemned its attack on Iran. The US was given advance notice of the strikes. Still, it looks like this is just the beginning. Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, saying in a televised address, there is more to come.
There are initial reports coming out right now of Israel conducting airstrikes in Tehran, and this is what it means. At around 3:30 a.m., Iranian time, explosions were reported all across Tehran in populated areas. This is being billed right now as a preemptive strike against nuclear infrastructure. I don't know how much nuclear infrastructure is actually in Tehran itself, but this is certainly an escalation from previous attacks on behalf of Israel. This comes on the back of two things. One, the nuclear talks with the United States stalled out. Two, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, censured Iran for non-compliance. The Israeli defense minister allegedly asked for American support, which was eventually denied. However, this led to the U.S. moving people and material out of regional hubs. If all of this is true, this is a huge, if not historic, escalation of violence in the region. Follow for more.
There are unverified reports now circulating online that the Israeli Air Force may have launched a second wave of strikes against targets in Iran. These claims are being widely shared on social media, but as of now, no Tier 1 sources such as Reuters, AP, BBC, or Axios have confirmed that a second round of strikes is currently underway. What has been confirmed is that Israel conducted multiple airstrikes inside Iran tonight, targeting nuclear and missile-linked facilities. That operation was officially acknowledged by Israeli officials and was named, quote, Rising Lion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that the campaign would continue, quote, for as many days as it takes, but no formal announcement has been made regarding the launch of a new strike phase. Reports of additional air activity or explosions have not been independently verified by credible media outlets or government sources. This situation remains highly fluid. Any references to ongoing or additional military actions in this video are clearly labeled as unverified, and no claims should be interpreted as confirmed unless backed by Tier 1 reporting.
We have some big news right now. Despite Trump officials saying that Israel acted alone and unilaterally, Israeli officials are telling Axios that that's not necessarily true. This morning, we're learning, according to Axios, that two Israeli officials claimed that Trump and his aides were only pretending to oppose an Israeli attack in public and didn't express any opposition in private. Quote, we had a clear U.S. green light. Netanyahu's aides, according to Axios, even briefed Israeli reporters that Trump had tried to put the brakes on any attack on Monday, when in reality, the call was to coordinate the attack this week. Now, U.S. officials have not confirmed any of that. Marco Rubio put out a statement saying that Israel's actions were unilateral. Trump later confirmed that he knew the attack was coming, but said that the United States had no military involvement. It remains to be seen, really, how involved the United States was. But what is becoming clearer with each passing moment is that this probably wasn't Israel acting alone, despite what Marco Rubio and the Trump administration have said.
Iran launched more than 100 drones coming towards Israel. Now, Israel's army says that it has intercepted a lot of those drones outside of Israel's borders. It's unclear, though, if they've intercepted all of them, if drones are going to continue coming in, if there will be intercepted here, and if Iran is going to send ballistic missiles. But as you can see, the people here are kind of going about their lives. The cars are driving on the streets. People were swimming in the sea. Some people have started hoarding things from supermarkets, stocking up on water and food because there's this concern of what will happen. But right now, we're sort of in this holding pattern of wait and see. Now, this happened after Israel attacked Iran early Friday morning. It attacked its nuclear program. Israel said that some of its military commanders, its generals, were killed. Also, that it struck nuclear facilities as well as military facilities. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that this will go on for as long as many days as it takes, and that this was a preemptive strike in order to make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear bomb.
اینجا رو زدن، اینجا رو هم زدن، این لویزان هم زدن، خوشتم زدن. چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن، رامز چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن.
متاسفانه اکثر مصدومین ما یا خانم یا کودکان در حال استراحت در شب بودن و خیلی هاشون اصلا از نظر روحی روانی حالت شوک زده داشتن، چون در خواب بودن و هیچ کدوم نظامی ما توشون ندیدیم. همه یا خانواده بودن.
موشک همین الان اسرائیل حمله کرد به قسمت زنده موشک زدن.
به نظر من باید به عنوان یه ایرانی پاسخ دهن‌شکن بدم، پاسخ متقابل بدم. ما چقدر دیگه جونمون بلرزه؟
باید ما هم یه کاری بکنیم، حداقل اینا وای نیستن تا او حمله کنه. باید اما اینا دیشب میزدن داغونش میکردن به هم. نباید شد بیای جلو این حرومزاده که ای تو زن بچه ملت اسیر بشین مثل قزه.
یعنی دارم به ما زور میگم، اصلا قابل قبول نیست.
خود اسرائیل داره تا آخرین نفساشو داره جونشو میکنه که بخواد به یه جایی برسه، اما بازم نمیرسه.
ساعت الان 3:37 دقیقه.
The president this morning says he warned Iran a potential Israeli military strike on the country would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, because Israel uses American military equipment and, quote, they know how to use it. He adds there is still time to make this slaughter come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there's nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. Last night, the White House signaled it didn't support Israel's actions, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying Israel took unilateral action against Iran and that the U.S. is not involved in strikes. He added Israel advised us that they believed this action was necessary for its self-defense, and he warned Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Remember, ahead of the strikes, non-essential U.S. personnel and military families in the Middle East were advised by the Pentagon and State Department to leave the region. We are expected to hear more from the president about this later today. He is set to hold meetings with his cabinet about the situation.
All right, we are following the breaking news out of the Middle East right now, in which the Israeli defense minister has alerted the nation to a set of what he called preemptive strikes against Iran. There have been no, explosions outside of Tehran, according to the Iranian state authorities. We do not know yet where these strikes have been, how widespread they are, what facilities they're focused on. There would be, in the eyes, I think, of the Iranian government, a big difference between military strikes like those we've seen from Israel over the past 6 months in this escalating exchange of warfare with Israel and Iran and targeting the nuclear program.
Welcome back. Breaking news coverage as we look at Jerusalem, Israel, now in the target of the Iranian response that will certainly be coming. 5:37 in the morning in Jerusalem. The Iranians have promised a devastating strike, counterstrike on Israel after an overnight bombing campaign by Israel that they promised to continue for multiple days to take out Iran's nuclear program. The Israelis have already succeeded in eliminating much of Iran's command and control. The head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was killed in a targeted strike. Their nuclear scientists targeted. And this perhaps is the most significant video you will see today. The black plume of smoke coming up over Natanz, which was Iran's main nuclear facility. There are many nuclear facilities in Iran. The Iranians have been planning for an Israeli strike for as long as the Israelis have been planning to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. With us on the panel, Jim Hansen, U.S. Army Special Forces veteran, chief editor of the Middle East Forum; Joel Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under President Obama; Mick Mulvaney, former White House Chief of Staff; Senator Mark Wayne Mullen as well, of the great state of Oklahoma. In the break, we were talking, gents, about why we have not yet seen the Iranian response. My supposition here is because the Israelis took out much of the Iranian command structure, number one, their communications as well. Part of this is to scare the Iranians that we know, in terms of the Israelis, where everybody is sleeping. So you get the Iranians arguing with each other, and that paralyzes, Senator Mullen, their military.
It does, but it also, the Iranians can't get out there and lose this fight. What are they going to launch? Israel's controlling the airspace right now. They've obviously showed they can break through their air defense. And they're not worried about the ballistic missiles. We've heard Ted Cruz go out there a while ago, and he's rightfully so. They have a tremendous amount of arsenal of ballistic missiles, but at the same time, we have David Sling, we have the Iron Dome, and we have the Arrow missile defense that is setting in Israel, and ballistic missiles are the easiest ones for us to track. They're much easier to track than drones. They've also shot a tremendous amount of weaponry over the last 6 months that Israel and the others that control the airspace around Israel that the Iranians have to come through has decimated.
So here's my question, Mark Wayne, is that the Iranians are not responding right now. Is that because they can't or they choose not to?
I think they choose not to. They can't take a defeat. They would love to, but where are they going to go up in the air? And how could they, right? As I said, Israel's controlling the airspace. If they launch something right now and they get whipped.
I just wonder if they don't have the ability to, because part of me says,
I think
look,
a part of it.
The command and control is maybe so shot that they don't have the ability to actually do it. But even if they did, I'm sitting there thinking, why not go ahead and use these things before the Israelis destroy them?
We know there's multiple waves, right? So there was the first wave that took out the air defenses. We also understand that there was some Israeli special operations and intelligence assets doing sabotage inside Iran on this night. Jim, I see you nodding along and smiling.
Well, my question is, we said we weren't part of the strike. Are we going to be part of the defense when Iran does launch? Because we have been previously. When the exchange happened last year, when Iran launched all of the drones and missiles and everything that they had, we shot a lot of those down. All right, there were U.S. fighter planes shooting them down. Our air defense stuff took them out. I'm assuming that we would not deny Israel that protection if Iran retaliates. It would surprise me if we don't, but that's going to be a big question when this actually does come, and it's gonna come.
So I would answer that as I believe we will, because the amount of troops they got to fly over to get from Iran to Israel.
Of American
troops, yes, we have assets between those two locations, and we also have friends in those locations. I believe we will be forced to, because we control a lot of the airspace. We control a lot of the airspace, too, between those two. And if we control the airspace, then we have to defend that airspace.
Well, it started, and who knows where it'll end. Israel is attacking Iran, and Iran is attacking back. Very real concerns. This could mean all-out war between these two very powerful nations in the Middle East. So this is what we know. Israel is carrying out attacks across Iran with hundreds of jets. It's taken out senior, top-level military leaders in Iran. Israel saying it's attacking Iran's nuclear program. Iran firing back with more than 100 drones. That's according to the Israeli military. And the US going out of its way to say it was nothing to do with this. It's urging government employees in the region to shelter in place. Other world leaders pushing out statements, urging restraints, because this is what everyone was fearing in the Middle East, a major regional war.
The Israeli military has officially launched 5 waves of attacks across Iran in an operation they are calling Operation Rising Lion. Hundreds of strikes in total have been carried out in 8 different locations, including Tehran. They claim this is to prevent Iranian nuclear capabilities and have struck 2 nuclear sites within Iran and killed a nuclear physicist. They also killed the former chief of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran and multiple IRGC command leaders. But what they won't tell you is that in addition to targeting nuclear sites, they also targeted multiple civilian sites, and untold numbers of women and children have been killed in these strikes. In fact, according to Iran's Tasmin news agency, the vast majority of the victims they are seeing are women and children. Now, all of this comes amid ongoing talks between the US and Iran about a joint nuclear deal. Israel is trying to forestall the US's involvement in this deal and prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, despite having an unchecked nuclear arsenal of its own. And if you ask me, who's a greater threat to the region? The US says it wasn't involved in this attack and allegedly did not approve of it going forward. But Western media has rushed to frame this assault on Iran as somehow necessary for Israel's self-defense. They're calling it a preemptive strike, but normal people would call that attacking a country that has not attacked you. If anyone has a right to defend themselves right now, it's Iran. And allegedly, they are planning to. It's expected that they will launch hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel in a counterattack. And Iranian media says that the country is preparing to declare war on Israel. Israel is trying to draw the US into World War III, and we keep falling for it.
The Iron Dome is now very active in its defense of Israel at this very moment, but it's not perfect. And I would not expect, nor would I have the Israeli people expect that it is perfect. That's why they're sheltering now. I'm sure the entire Israeli population is under a shelter order and certainly a warning by Israeli Defense Forces, but it is a very effective system. And they're very experienced, perhaps more so than any nation in the world, in terms of an air defense system to protect their citizens. But right now, the defense systems, and you can hear them, I think I'm on the phone right now, but they're actively operating to intercept all the missiles and drones that are coming in. And we're going to anticipate this for this evening, certainly over the next several minutes, if not the next couple of hours or so. But again, I would expect that Iran is rather limited in its ability to reattack Israel at this point. But that's easy for me to say. The Israeli people are still in harm's way here, but I anticipate Israeli Defense Forces to put up a very strong defense to prevent these missiles from getting through their layered defenses.
זה היציאה עדי. וואי, זה נראה כמו זיקוקים. וואו, איזה יופי. אמא, לב, אמא. יפה. וואו.
יא בני זונות, יו, אני בהלם. אני בהלם, יו. אני בשוק. אני פאקינג בשוק.
Seventeen Israelis so far have received treatment from injuries by shrapnel from those incoming Iranian missiles. And the Israeli Prime Minister, as we speak now, is meeting with his security cabinet to assess the situation. His defense minister, Israel Katz, said before the meeting that Iran had crossed a red line, that it was targeting civilian areas. An ironic statement, of course, coming from a minister commandeering a relentless assault on civilian areas in Gaza and also in Iran, as we saw and reported earlier today.
مسلم نیروی مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ضربه‌های سنگینی بر این دشمن خبیث وارد خواهد آورد و جمهوری اسلامی به اذن الهی بر رژیم صهیونیستی فائق خواهد شد. ملت عزیز این رو بدونن و مطمئن باشن و خاطر جمع باشن که در این زمینه هیچ کوتاهی صورت نخواهد گرفت.
I'm down here inside the Shiva Medical Center parking garage. Underground, as you can see behind me, doctors are already turning this into the hospital. They're bringing patients down here for their own safety, to protect them from bombs, but also to clear the hospital in case they encounter a mass casualty event. So you can see right here, this in Hebrew says EKG. It's being set up for the possible EKG center to be located here. This says surgery. So, as you can see, all of this is about to become the hospital itself. So Iran has already retaliated with about 100 drones fired at Israel, but nobody here expects that to be the last word, and that's why this whole country is preparing for something so much worse.
Israel's strikes on Iran's nuclear and military sites are a really big deal. Here are 3 reasons why. First, Israel has been threatening to do this for a long time, saying Iran's nuclear program poses an existential threat to it. Now they've actually done it. The strikes hit locations across Iran, including in the capital Tehran and Natanz, which is Iran's main uranium enrichment site. Several senior military commanders and top nuclear scientists were also killed. For years, Israel has been trying to persuade other countries that taking out Iran's nuclear capability is the right approach. This was Netanyahu talking about it at the UN back in 2012. But the US, Europe, and others have preferred to go down the negotiations route. We saw that with the Iran nuclear deal, signed during Obama's presidency. Trump withdrew the US from that deal in his first term, but earlier this year, he started new talks with Iran as a way to avoid military action. And just a few days ago, he said this.
Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in, because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it.
Which gets us to the second reason why this is such a big deal. There are questions about how much the US, Israel's biggest ally, was or wasn't involved in the decision to go ahead with the strikes. The US's Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Israel took unilateral action, i.e. it acted alone, and that the U.S. is not involved in Israel's strikes against Iran. So it looks like the U.S. could be trying to distance itself a bit from Israel on this. And keep in mind that the 6th round of U.S.-Iran nuclear talks was scheduled for Sunday. Trump says Israel did tell the U.S. beforehand that it was going to do this. And in the last few days, some U.S. embassy staff were being evacuated from the region. But still, exactly how the discussions between Israel and the U.S. went down in the lead-up to Israel's strikes isn't very clear. Nor is Trump's position towards Iran right now. In this post, reacting to Israel's strikes, Trump says he told Iran to make a deal, but they just couldn't get it done. In the same post, he also called for more diplomacy, saying Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left. Now, the third reason why this move by Israel is such a big deal is because of what Iran's potential response could be. Right away, Iran launched about 100 drones towards Israel, though many were intercepted. And Iran's supreme leader has warned Israel to expect severe punishment. A big question is whether U.S. military bases in the region could also be targeted. And there are a lot of them, including in Gulf countries like Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. On Wednesday, Iran's defense minister said, if a conflict is imposed on us, all U.S. bases are within our reach, and we will boldly target them in host countries. That scenario would mean direct conflict between Iran and the U.S. on another country's territory. So we'd be looking at all sorts of serious ripple effects across the region.
Right now we are at one of the missile impact sites in Tel Aviv. We have seen a number of people coming out of this residential area, some receiving medical attention. There's just some debris on the ground from the windows that shattered when this blast took place. This is one of many impact locations all across Israel. And it's an indication that while Israel's missile defense system was able to shoot down a lot of the incoming fire, much of it slipped past the Arrow system and the David Sling and the American defense systems that were being used, slamming into major population centers. The Israeli Security Cabinet is convening tonight to determine what the response will be, but again, all of this happening just hours after the Israelis launched a coordinated strike against Iranian nuclear facilities and also targeted the top scientists in Iran and top IRGC officials. Follow me on Instagram for more. Tune in live on Fox. We will keep you updated as this story develops.
Matt, I'll start with you. What are we hearing right now from both Israeli and Iranian leaders?
I can tell you right now, Sinclair, that what we are hearing right now is what it's called an extreme alert. We are being told to move now to a secure place, that an Iranian attack, a counterattack. Oh, and now I'm just being told by my producer that, as a matter of fact, we need to just be near. We're okay. We just need to be near the safe room. So I can actually speak to you, but I'm sorry, you did get cut off.
No, that's all right, Matt. Keep going. Of course, if you're not feeling safe, feel free to relocate. But obviously, things rapidly evolving at this point. I'm going to turn to Monica so that you and your team can.
I had a brief conversation with President Trump this morning, and here's what he said. It was a very successful attack. Iran should have listened to me. And he reminded me that he gave Iran a 60-day warning and that today is day 61. And so what President Trump said is that he still wants them to come to the table. He said, if they don't, quote, it will be too late for them. He also noted that the people he was dealing with are dead. He called them the hardliners. I asked him which people, which hardliners he was talking about. He said, I don't want to say, I can't say. And I said, just to be clear, this is a result of last night's attack. And he very sarcastically responded, yeah, they didn't die of the flu. They didn't die of COVID. Now, one of the main questions is, what exactly is the U.S. posture? What was it going into this Israeli attack? And what is it now that everybody is expecting Iran to retaliate at some point? It was really noteworthy that Marco Rubio, in his carefully worded statement as this attack began, said that the U.S. was informed of the attack, but did not say that the U.S. supports Israel's action, which is really historically kind of boilerplate language for any U.S. administration to say that the U.S. supports Israel's right to defend itself. And so that was a question that I asked President Trump, was that intentional? And he jumped in and said, we of course support Israel, obviously, and supported it like nobody ever has supported it.
We have breaking news right now. Iran has launched a second wave of attacks on Israel right now as we speak. Dozens of more missiles are currently on their way to Israel right now. Now, the first wave of ballistic missiles, it's unclear exactly how many were fired. There's several dozen. 7, it looks like about 7 got through, including 2 striking parts of Tel Aviv, downtown Tel Aviv. Now, we don't have much information as to where they struck, who has been impacted, whether or not any casualties are present, but 7 missiles did get through Israel's defenses. And right now we're waiting on the second wave of ballistic missiles. And really the question here is how much longer this is going to go. Iran could theoretically launch hundreds of ballistic missiles. That could be enough to overtake Israel's missile defense systems. But right now, Iran hasn't launched hundreds. It looks as though it's going to be about 100. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep providing you updates every step of the way. So follow along for more and subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio for a full breakdown shortly of everything.
Multiple explosions rocked cities across Iran and Israel, killing civilians and wounding dozens. In this video verified by CNN, we see the dramatic moment a missile is intercepted near a military headquarters in Tel Aviv.
Okay.
The retaliatory Iranian strikes came less than 24 hours after Israel launched an unprecedented attack on Iran, hitting key sites in the nation's nuclear program and killing some of the country's highest-ranking military leaders. Both sides have warned that there will be more to come.
Video.